All right, everybody, welcome. We're so happy to have our friend Hillary back with us today to talk about an incredibly important topic, talk about captions and how you can be a caption captain. And without further ado, Hillary, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Mike and Jen. Thanks, everyone, for having me on this lovely afternoon. As much as I want to go outside and play, we're not going to do that. We are going to actually play with closed captionings, and I would like to invite you all to develop your own SS Access and hop aboard the Caption Captain. Oop. So if you're looking for resources, this is the link to today's slides. You can just grab that QR code and you will have the only access to the slides, which are chock full of resources, materials, things that you can use in your setting to share about the importance of captioning. I'm really glad that you're here. A little bit about me. My name is Hillary Goldthwait Fowles. I am an accessibility accomplice. I wear many, many hats in assistive and inclusive tech. I am currently an instructional designer at the Kennedy Krieger Institute in Baltimore, Maryland, working on their neurodevelopmental pediatric and behavioral health echo, designing inclusive learning experiences using a learning management system from their didactic lectures and doing some case studies in an LMS. So I'm taking all of my AT and universal design for learning experience and applying it in that role. And it's a lot of fun. I also am a lead assistive and inclusive tech specialist at Empower the Learner, which we are looking at learner profiles and universal design in order to develop learner agency and advocacy. I'm also an adjunct faculty at 2 universities in the state of Maine, which is where I'm from, designing curriculum and learning opportunities for graduate students in assistive technology and universal design. You can find me on Twitter at Hillary_ATP. And as it is getting nice, some things I like to do is to write, to go to the beach, ride on the back of my husband's Harley, and of course, laugh and have fun whenever we can. So as we're going through today, I hope that you find some joy in our session together and that you have joy in your day. So today's goal is to empower you to become your very own caption captain in order to make your video content accessible for all learners. The last couple of years with the COVID-19 pandemic and schools shifting to remote learning and hybrid learning and really utilizing technology, it became glaringly important about the importance of closed captioning and having that matter for all. So we're going to dive right into that. Our objectives today are to identify the 2 reasons why accessible video matters, determine 2 inclusive tech tools to use in creating accessible videos, and discuss at least 2 takeaways, resources, or tips that will help ensuring that your video content is accessible. And I'd also like to invite you to think about where to go if you're not sure. Teachers have a lot of responsibility, and it takes a team of us to help support each other. So know your people. Where do you go if you need support in making sure your video content is accessible to every learner? So take a minute and think for about 20 seconds. What is a goal for you? We're not going to go through that goal again because we've already done that. So we're going to go over the who, what, when, where, and why of captioning today. Who captions benefit? What are captions? When captions are used for all? Where do they belong? Why do they matter? And how do you include captions in your content? So that's a little walkthrough of what we're going to go over in our time together today. Take a second and watch this video. There is no sound. And it is a deaf individual who is signing with captioning. And now the deaf individual signing in, there are no captions. And now the captions are back. I love the quote, and it says, I cannot understand how a language like sign language, the richest in expressions, the most energetic, the most advantageous in its universal intelligibility, is still so neglected and that only the deaf speak it. This is, I confess, one of those irrationalities of the human mind that I cannot explain. I love using this video as an illustration of different experiences and why captions matter so much, obviously for the deaf community. And we're going to go on beyond that. So in here, there are a couple of resources. Captions do not just benefit the deaf and hard of hearing, and then the 8 benefits of transcribing and captioning online videos. So let me just take you out of this for a second. So one of my favorites is 3Play Media, and this resource here is about the different benefits for transcribing and captioning your online video. And then the next one is also how many people use captions, not just for the deaf, of hard and hearing. And there are different research studies that are in here, and then different groups of people that use closed captioning. 80% of TV viewers use closed captions for reasons other than just hearing loss. And it's really, really important that we know more about this and understand its importance. Think about being in a restaurant and it's really, really loud and the TV doesn't have closed captioning on. You can't really follow what's going on if you want to watch TV. Some people like to watch TV when they're out. But when you have the captions on, you're appealing to a wider variety of people. So what are closed captions? I'll let my friends at 3Play tell you.
Let's begin with just the very basics. So what are captions? So captions are text that has been synchronized with the media so that it can be read while watching the video. Captions assume that the viewer can't hear the audio at all. And so the objective is not only to convey the spoken content, but also the sound effects, speaker identification, and other non-speech elements. Basically, the objective is just to convey any sound that's not visually apparent, but integral to the plot of the video.
That's the short of what closed captions are. But when we go further and we look at offering closed captions as a feature for everybody, we're talking about universal design for learning. So UDL, or Universal Design for Learning, has specific guidance around using video content. And there's a link to the UDL guidelines right in the session deck for you. Videos engage learners. They provide options and choices in the ways that you can access, engage, and express understanding. And one of the checkpoints in the guidelines is 1.2, and it offers those alternatives for auditory information. So when we ensure that our content has those captions first, again, we're honoring those who are deaf and hard of hearing by providing those captions. We don't have to wait or ignore the importance of having video content with captions. And those might need an additional literacy boost or additional focus to do benefit. And so I'll point you to this other resource that's here. Does closed captioning improve reading and literacy in children? And it is, and we're going to dive into that in our session, but there's a whole bunch of body of research that talks about why this matters so much. So where do captions belong? I say everywhere there's video content. For example, 3Play Media's article that I just showed. And from that study, captioning and subtitles help strengthen the following reading skills: reading speed and fluency, word knowledge, decoding, vocabulary acquisition, word recognition, reading comprehension, and oral reading rates. It's a wonderful support to use in addition to especially design instruction for kids who are having challenges accessing print or having decoding or reading fluently. Have the videos. Kids are watching YouTube, kids are watching TV. Have those videos, press that CC button and have those closed captions there. For a lot of kids, it helps with focus. I'll show you an example here in Google Slides. We actually have closed captions right here. And in our Zoom platform, we have a live transcript, which is automated. Now, these are artificially intelligence derived captions. So they're not a cart transcriptionist who's typing as I'm speaking. When I click on this, if you notice, it's at the bottom and I have the text set to a larger size. So if I'm in the classroom and I'm presenting, I always have the captions on. And it's kind of interesting because a lot of kids will be curious and wonder why. And we have conversations about this and why it matters. You never know if you're going to have someone in your environment who has hearing loss or who has auditory processing challenges or who is deaf and wears cochlear implants, or like my father wears hearing aids and really benefits from using closed captions. I had a student who was watching this and the slide deck was in their Google Classroom. And so they had it up on their device and they actually asked, can I turn the closed captioning on my device while you're talking? And I said, sure, let's do that. And what happened for that child was they said, you know what? I was able to better pay attention with the captions on while you were talking than if I didn't have these on. Should I use this in other classes? And I said, well, what do you think? And the conversation was, yes, I'm going to ask my teachers if I can just turn this on so that I can pay better attention. And so that's how that story kind of went. But if you notice in Google Slides, you can change the size and you can change the position for that. You notice the slide deck kind of shrinks a little bit to make space for that. And I'm going to explain why space in your slides matter in just a moment. But why do captions matter? First and foremost, access for individuals with disabilities first. Caption videos are a civil right. So if your school district is not captioning your videos, you're going to want to watch that because there is some legal action that is coming from the disability community and from accessibility specialists that are saying you're providing materials to the community, to students, and you're not closed captioning, and you can't do that. Again, it does help with literacy, focus, gives options to language and perceptions. It's another way to acquire language. I don't know, I've heard several stories from people who are non-native English speakers and saying, well, how did you learn English in addition to taking a class? They were watching TV with closed captions on, or if they didn't have access to a class, they were watching TV with closed captions on and getting that multisensory experience. And really, closed captioning honors the variability of us all by providing a strategy and support that's intended for someone with a disability, but can be used for a variety of other people and other uses that will help with literacy and attention and focus. And just having it there is something that's really important, that you're not posting a video in your classroom and then you're going, oops, sorry, didn't caption it. Oh, let me get that. That's time and effort that could have been done from the start and should have been done from the start, because it is a human right. It's a civil right to have access to accessible materials and accessible experiences, and that includes video as well. And that's why captions matter so much. But space in your slides matter. So if you're looking at these two slide decks, one is on the left and one is on the right. So what do you notice about these two slide decks? I mean, one's kind of plain, you might think, and the other one's, oh, that's pretty. But if I'm going to put closed caption, like Google Slides captioning, over one of these where it's either at the bottom or the top, it's not going to work so well because it's going to shrink it, but I'm not going to have that space because it's going to run over my slide. So what you want to do is make sure that you need space. So your design of your slides are just as important if you're using automatic captioning in either PowerPoint or Google Slides. So that design matters. Check for that space at the top or the bottom. They need that space to run over that video content. So if you're even doing a slide screen recording with your slides and say you're uploading that screen recording to, either Edpuzzle or YouTube or a service that has captions in it, you want to make sure that your slide design is intentional so that the captions can run over and don't run over what's on your slide. So the slide on the left has a lot of white space on the bottom so that that caption track can run because they're placed on the bottom. But the slide deck on the right, while it's beautiful and has a lot of, great illustrations of children engaging in content in different ways, running captions over, you're going to miss some of that visual information when you have the caption. So really that design consideration is just as important, especially when you're doing screencasts, which a lot of teachers are doing these days. So that's super important. So there are different ways you can include captions. I love to give people the embedded as a feature. Embed your captions first, like if they're there, use them. So for example, Flipgrid is a tool that allows for students to respond and the automatic captions are there. The only drawback to Flipgrid is that the teacher has to go back and edit those captions after that. Book Creator is one of my favorite universal tools for captioning, and it allows for an automated caption track. You've got YouTube, you have Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle, as long as your original video is captioned, it will transfer it over. But that's if you are uploading just a straight video, you will not have captioning, and that's going to run into some issues. Apple Clips is an app that's great, and PowerPoint. So those are things that are embedded as a feature within that particular platform. You can also include after or during a recording. So if you're using WeVideo to record your videos, you want to upload it to a third party so that you can have that captioning, whether it's YouTube, Rev, Capwing, or Streamer, or Panopto Video. Otter AI, which is actually what Zoom uses for their transcription. It's 95 to 97% accurate in its rendering of that integrated transcript, which is a form of captions. And then you don't want to forget social media. Now, a lot of platforms now are allowing for that feature for automatic captions. The trick is that you have to know where to go to turn it on. So they're off by default. And then they're buried in your settings instead of just being the first thing you see so that you can really customize your experience. You got to know where to find them. So this resource that's here is all about the different social media accessibility, including captioning videos. And some of that has changed a little bit. It's better to have your captions kind of burned in so that they're accurate rather than using, say, Instagrams or Facebooks or Twitter's live captioning. While they're there, they're not as effective as actually having that video accurately and effectively transcribed and captioned appropriately, because you're going to miss something. And we don't want to have something lost in that translation. People who are deaf and hard of hearing deserve the right to have access to the same robust language that we do. We should not be cutting corners with that. And we should really be taking that time and effort to make those captions accurate for all individuals. And so there are a lot of tools here. And what I've done with these resources is when you click on any of them, there's a link to it on what these are. I have been playing a lot with Panopto lately. It is something we use at Kennedy Krieger in terms of videos, and I love it. You can screen record, you can do a webcast, you can record yourself, you can record your screen, you can record yourself in your screen, and it's cloud-based. And what it does is it has wonderful captioning and a tab that you can go and edit them right in, and they're time-stamped. The recognition accuracy is phenomenal in Panopto. It's absolutely phenomenal. And then I have the ability to either share it through a link. I can embed it in a learning management system such as Canvas or Google Classroom using a link. It integrates with all of those learning management systems. And then I can also share it within Panopto. I can share that video to somebody else. I've really enjoyed it. It's ease of use. I haven't had to watch videos or tutorials on how to do it. The navigation is very intuitive and easy to understand. I really dig it, and it's web-based, so I don't have to install something, although I do have the option to if I really want to, but I prefer the web-based version because I'm a Chromebook girl and I like to just have it in one place. Screencast-O-Matic's another screen recorder, but I love that because the captioning is there as well. And there is a way to do closed captioning in Google Drive. So if you are a Google Drive user and you're uploading your video, you can use Otter AI to make a transcript and then take that transcript and upload it as a caption track in Google Drive. And so there's instructions there as well. We've talked about Flipgrid and Book Creator. There's guidance here on making your captions in YouTube and editing them. Capwing is another tool that is great for captioning. The thing about Capwing, though, is that they're burnt in, so they're not a clickable feature because not everybody likes to have captions going on. But at the same time, it's nice to have that option to have a feature to turn that on or off. Let me show you Web Captioner really quick, because I like Web Captioner when you're at a place that I don't have captions available. And so I just click on Start Captioning. It opens up this window and it kind of looks like a teleprompter. So I'm looking at it and here it is. It's a big screen. So this could potentially be a good workaround if you are, say, at a school assembly and it's not super duper noisy and the microphone, the person that's holding the microphone is there, and then you have this caption track that runs on a screen behind it so that you're providing that closed captioning to the audience. And we have used Google Slides for that in the past, but this is also another option. And you can also, when you sign in, you have a variety of settings that you can change and adjust depending on your account. So you can see right here, if you sign in, there are all these settings. I can censor profane language if I want to, which for some schools are going to want to do that. I'm just going to omit them, or I could do asterisks. I think I'd probably want to convey the meaning that somebody swore, but not have the swear in there. What the volume meter is, you can change the sensitivity using buttons and different line breaks. There's different keyboard shortcuts. It's free, it's simple to use. And when you sign in and you create a different account, you can have a different variety of features there. But I just wanted to show you that as well. Screencastify is a great tool for screencasting. The thing about Screencastify is that you have to upload it to a third-party service such as YouTube or Capwing in order to get your captions rendered and get them done in an accurate manner. So here are some captioning resources that we have. There is Teaching with Accessible Video, and I want to do this because I know next week's session there, my friends at the Ames Center, Luis and Cynthia, will be doing some work on the Ames Center fabulousness. But what I love is how to teach with accessible video. Why is video important? And it's great. I mean, videos on your phone, mobile devices, everywhere. And it does support all three of the UDL principles. And I've just referenced one in our session today, but it does represent reference engagement. How do you use video to engage your learners? Representing to provide another option for people who struggle with print access and interpreting information, and then action and expression to provide those additional options for demonstrating understanding. Kids love to make videos. Come on, how many kids have said, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up? Well, why not let them practice and have some fun with it? You never know. Maybe they'll remember you someday and you'll get an affiliate link or something. I don't know. I just think it's important to, if you're going to motivate someone, that's what they want, they're interested in, have a product that they can make a video with that, see what happens. There's lovely ways for tips for teaching with video and video for learning and assessment. But what I want to point back out again is including captions when you create your own videos. And then also, as we're not talking about captions to audio descriptions today, we're talking about captions, but Audio descriptions are meant for people who are blind and visually impaired who can't see what's happening, but the audio description is telling you what's going on the screen. So if you can, because tools are becoming more available, include those. But like I said, supports for some are good for all. And so there's lots of different ways that captions benefit, and going back to literacy. And then another great resource to find truly accessible videos is to go to the Described and Captioned Media Program. It's funded from the US DOE, and it does provide a wealth of resources for you. So you can register for free, and you can learn more about what the membership is and what you can get. You can get movies, DVDs, interactive media, and more. So if you have somebody that has a video and they need it, you can go to the Described, Caption and Media Program and get that. So that's a great resource from the AIM Center. And just 3Play Media has a wonderful bunch of resources around, and they all of these resources kind of speak to each other and talking about why accessible video is important. But I want to point you to one more resources before we wrap up, and it's Captions. And I love just Ricky Pointer is a deaf advocate, and she runs a No More Caption social media program. She has t-shirts, and she talks about the importance of really making sure that your captions are accurate and understanding that that matters. Automatic captions are good, but are they good enough? Not necessarily. So you want to be mindful of that as well. And then with that, I'd like to thank you for your time and open it up to some questions. You can stay connected with me on Twitter. I'm at Hillary_ATP. You can find me on the web at hillaryhelpsyoulearn.com, or you can shoot me an email, hillary@hillaryhelpsyoulearn.com. So thanks everyone for your time today.
Thank you, Hillary. I love wrapping up with that idea of YouTube captions and that concept of craptions, and just they're just not good. And it's really when you start getting into the editing part of YouTube and into the video manager, it's always interesting. That's really not that hard to do, to fix the captions.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because if people sometimes they just need to see it and realize, well, oh, I could easily go in there and do that. If it's adding a proper noun in there, or capitalizing something, or fixing one or two words.
Right, or adding a period or a comma, or capitalizing something. But it matters, because a comma in the right place changes the meaning of everything depending on what you're saying. So that's super duper important. And that extra step just matters so much. So in your workflow, you've got to make that intentional as part of your workflow. Don't just say, oh, I put it up, the captions are there, I'm done, and walk away. I encourage you to walk away from it, because they need time to render. So YouTube takes time, but I'll tell you, Panopto is a lot quicker than YouTube. I am very, very happy with Panopto.
Here's my note. I just wrote myself a note to play with it.
You want to check that out, because I had never heard of it for myself until I took on got hired at Krieger, and I was like, what is this Panopto thing? What are you doing? And then I went, oh, this is really good.
That's awesome.
It's very, very cool, easy to use, and not as many craptions as YouTube, for sure. And the rendering time is not that, like YouTube, you got to wait quite a while for that to run. Like I can go make lunch, hang out, make some calls, answer some emails, and then it's there. You know what I mean?
It does take a while. Yeah, that and that. If there's one downside of YouTube, it's such a powerful way to store video and have it accessible for people to get to it. By that meaning, it's accessible. Just get to it.
Yes.
But anytime you do any editing of it, the captions, if you clip it, oh man, you might as well just go find another thing to do altogether and come back the next day. It takes a long time for those things to actually take effect.
Sometimes, for ease of time and my own sanity, I will run Otter AI simultaneously with the video to get a timestamp transcript, and then upload that as the caption track to YouTube, let it do its thing, because I spend less time editing when I recorded in Otter than I have sometimes in YouTube. It's getting a little bit better, but
that's a good strategy. I wish that I
You
wish
gotta
the
have 'em.
caption track, the caption file that you download from Zoom would be a little bit more usable. I'm always disappointed in the caption file because the timestamps are not stamped to the video, they're stamped to the clock.
Right.
And then that doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't help at all.
Nope.
So
Yeah.
it's good for cutting and pasting if you're going to do it that way, but it's not an easy just drop it in and you're there.
Yeah, that's good feedback for the folks at Otter, because YouTube's not YouTube, but Zoom's auto is run through Otter AI.
Yeah.
So that's got to be like a thing between Zoom and Otter that they're just not
Yeah, some kind of weird connection there.
mish
Yeah,
and
right?
mashing about,
Yeah.
because Otter AI, their audio track is timestamped based on your talking, not the time in your calendar.
Exactly. Hit
So
record
that's-
and it's 0 and then it goes
Exactly.
from there. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's got to be a little thing between them, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Find somebody to give that feedback and say, so when are you going to make this improvement?
That
Please,
seems
thank you.
fixable, right? That seems doable. Yeah.
It
You
seems
would think.
fixable, right? It would really just be tied to the record button. The
Right.
minute you hit record,
The minute-
record that becomes 0.
Clock starts when you hit
Yeah.
record. Ding.
Yeah, seems like it would be. Well,
Yeah.
Hillary, this was awesome. I'll have to say that for as many times as I know that you've done this session for conferences I've been to, I've never seen this session. So I was really excited.
See, it's
Um,
always
This was
something.
great.
You're
This is
welcome.
awesome. I love it.
Guys.
It's such important information and so powerful. And simple changes we can make to our practice to make it better for all. So that's
Yeah,
outstanding.
and it's not just something too that if there's educators outside of special education that are watching this is your responsibility too, but no, there are people that will help you and support you in doing it. It doesn't mean we're going to do it for you, but we'll do it with you so that all the kids are seen and heard. But it's not this siloed thing where
Right.
just because it's a disability thing, it's everybody's thing.
Yeah.
And it's just the way that we're just being kind and honoring each other. I mean, could you imagine walking into a place and we get to sit in places where we want, we get to have the tools and supports that we need. And we don't always have to ask because they're just there. So
Right.
how great is it for a child to go into a setting and click on and it's just there. It's just part of their experience. And nobody goes, oh, wait, don't touch that. That's for the person who's at this.
Exactly.
This
Right.
is just
It's just part of
humanity.
the experience. It's everybody's experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I'm hoping through experiences like this, we'll get better at, and we'll all just work together to make inclusive
Yeah.
experiences just the reality and not the
I
exception.
love it. Makes sense. Awesome. Well, Hillary, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And
You're welcome.
everyone, reach out to Hillary for some guidance with this stuff. It's great.
Thank you so
Wonderful.
much,
Everyone.
Hillary. And we'll make sure that the link to your resources, if you put them in the chat or send them to us, we'll make sure they get put into Google Classroom as well for anybody who wasn't able to capture that QR code. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.
Everybody, thanks. Have a great day.